In the quiet streets of a small town, Lisa Turner lived a life that seemed almost perfect: a successful career, a loving family, and a peaceful home. But behind the doors of her suburban life, something far darker was lurking. For months, Lisa began noticing strange things: unfamiliar messages, shadowy figures in her backyard, and a creeping feeling that she was being watched. She didn't know it yet, but someone had been fixated on her for a long time. And as the obsession grew, so did the deadly game that would change her life forever. This is the chilling story of how a stalker's obsession escalated into a nightmare. It started off subtly, the kind of things most people might dismiss as coincidence. Lisa Turner, living in her quiet suburban neighborhood, noticed a strange presence, but couldn't pinpoint it. At first, it was the slight sound of footsteps behind her as she walked to her car, but when she turned around, no one was there. She thought she was just being paranoid, maybe overthinking the stress of her job. Then there was the time she spotted a dark figure standing in the distance in her backyard. When she looked again, it had vanished. Was she imagining it? She wasn't sure. A few days later, she found an unfamiliar note taped to her door, simply saying, "I see you." It was brief, but it made her heart race. Lisa brushed it off as a prank, but something about it felt wrong. Her friends reassured her that nothing was out of the ordinary. "It's probably just some kids messing around," one of them suggested. But deep down, Lisa knew it was more than that. She couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of something lurking in the background of her life. The dread began to creep in every time she stepped out of her house. One evening, as she sat on her porch, Lisa looked down the street and noticed a figure standing at the end, just watching her. When she made eye contact, the person quickly turned and disappeared around the corner. That was when it hit her. This wasn't just a random occurrence. If you're feeling the tension building, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what happens next in this chilling case. The messages started appearing more frequently, and they were no longer just odd notes on her doorstep. At first, it was something simple: a text message that read, "I see you walking your dog every morning. You look beautiful." Lisa tried to ignore it, telling herself it was just a harmless admirer. But as the days passed, the messages grew more specific: details about her daily routine, the places she went, and the people she saw. "I noticed you at the coffee shop today. I like the way you smile at the barista," one message said. She felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up each time she read one. How did this person know so much about her life? It wasn't just random, it was personal. "Is this creepy or what?" she asked her friend Emma, showing her the latest text. Emma frowned as she read it. "This is beyond weird, Lisa. You need to call the police," she suggested. But Lisa hesitated. "Maybe I'm overreacting," she said, but she wasn't convinced. The more she tried to ignore it, the more it escalated. The messages didn't stop. They began to take a darker tone, like, "I know where you live, I'll be waiting." Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that someone was always just behind her, watching from the shadows. "You should definitely report this," Emma urged again. "This isn't normal. Whoever this is, they're obsessed with you." Lisa knew Emma was right. This wasn't just a harmless flirtation anymore. It was a threat. As the fear settled in, Lisa knew she couldn't keep ignoring it. She had to act fast. If you're feeling the tension in this story, don't forget to subscribe. Things are about to get even darker. One evening, after a long day at work, Lisa came home to a scene that made her heart stop. There, on her front porch, was a photograph of her, taken through her living room window. She felt her stomach twist into knots. The photo wasn't just a random shot. It was clear the person had been watching her for a while, tracking her every move. Her hand shook as she picked it up, staring at the image. There she was, sitting on her couch, lost in her thoughts. The photo wasn't just unsettling, it was terrifying. She felt like she was trapped in a nightmare. But this was real. Her mind raced as she tried to make sense of what was happening. With trembling hands, she dialed Emma's number. "You're not going to believe this," she said when her friend picked up. "I just found a picture of myself on my porch. Someone's been watching me." "What? Oh my God, Lisa, that's really creepy," Emma said, her voice tinged with worry. "You need to call the police right now." Lisa paced back and forth, the fear gnawing at her. "I don't know. What if they think I'm overreacting? I mean, it's just a photo, right?" "Lisa, This isn't just a photo. Someone's been watching you. You need to take this seriously. Please call the police." That was all Lisa needed to hear. She immediately called the police, reporting the incident. But even after their investigation, they found nothing. No fingerprints, no clues, no leads. The stalker had covered their tracks expertly, staying one step ahead. Lisa was left with no answers, just the gut-wrenching feeling that she was being watched every second of every day. If you're feeling the tension rise, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Things are about to spiral even further. After the chilling discovery of the photograph, Lisa's world began to unravel. She was no longer just fearful, she was paralyzed by terror. The thought that someone had been in her home, watching her from the shadows, made her feel like a prisoner in her own life. She couldn't shake the feeling that her every move was being tracked, and it only intensified when, a few days later, she found another photo on her front porch. This time, it was of her leaving her office building, taken just moments after she had walked out the door. Lisa immediately called Emma, her voice frantic. "It's happening again. Another photo. This time it's from work. How does this person know where I am at all times?" Her mind raced, trying to piece together any possible clues. Emma responded, her voice filled with concern. "Lisa, this is escalating. You need to take action. You can't just keep waiting for it to stop. You need to go to the police again. This is serious." "I've already done that," Lisa said, her voice trembling. "They didn't find anything last time. I feel like I'm going crazy. What if the police can't help me?" "You have to keep trying," Emma urged. "You're not crazy, Lisa. This person is playing a game with you, and they won't stop unless someone puts a stop to it. Have you thought about installing security cameras or something?" Lisa nodded, though she still felt unsure. "I think that might be the only option left." The dread continued to grow as Lisa installed cameras around her home, hoping they would capture something, anything, that could finally lead her to the stalker. But in the back of her mind, she couldn't help but wonder, what if the stalker was already inside, waiting for the right moment to strike? If you're following this terrifying journey, make sure to subscribe. Things are about to get even worse. The sense of dread that had been growing in Lisa's mind for weeks finally came to a head on one fateful night. It was late, and the house was quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator. Lisa had just finished reading a book in the living room and decided to check the basement. Something had been nagging at her all evening. Maybe it was the creeping sense of paranoia, but she couldn't shake the feeling that the stalker was getting closer, that they might be in her home right now. As she descended into the basement, her flashlight casting long shadows across the walls, she heard a creak. The sound seemed to echo through the house. Her heart pounded in her chest, and her breath caught in her throat. "Hello?" she whispered, though she already knew the answer. The basement was cold, the air thick with tension, and that's when she saw it, a message crudely painted in red across the floor. It read, "I'm always here." Lisa's breath caught, and for a moment, everything seemed to blur. Her eyes locked on the words, and she felt a chill run through her body. Someone had been in her house again, and they weren't just watching her anymore. They were claiming ownership of her space. Terror flooded her veins as she ran upstairs and called Emma. "Emma, I found something in the basement. It's a message. I don't know what to do." Her voice shook uncontrollably. Emma's response was quick and firm. "Lisa, you need to leave the house now. Go to a neighbor's, lock the doors, and call the police." "I can't. I don't know if I can trust anyone anymore," Lisa said, her mind racing. "What if it's too late?" "You don't know that, but you're not alone in this. You have to get out of there. Now." Lisa didn't hesitate another second. As she stepped out of the house and into the night, she couldn't help but feel like she was finally facing the beginning of the end. The police were on their way, but would they arrive in time? If you're gripping the edge of your seat, make sure you subscribe. This story is far from over. The police arrived within minutes, and Lisa was quickly escorted to a neighbor's house, her hands trembling as she tried to hold it together. The officers searched the house from top to bottom, but found nothing. No sign of forced entry, no footprints, nothing to point to the stalker's whereabouts. Yet, the message in the basement left them stumped, unable to make sense of the twisted obsession that had taken over her life. Days passed, but the feeling of being watched never left Lisa. The police kept investigating, but every lead they followed seemed to come to a dead end. The cameras she had installed around her home had never picked up anything, and the stalker had remained as elusive as ever. Lisa was forced to live in a constant state of fear, her every movement monitored by an unseen force. The nightmare had only just begun. Then, one night, Lisa received another message. This time, it was a voice left on her voicemail. "I've always been here, Lisa. You'll never be alone again." The voice was low, almost mocking, and it made her blood run cold. It was then that Lisa realized the stalker had been closer than she ever imagined. After weeks of constant torment, the case took a shocking turn. The police finally discovered the identity of the stalker. Someone she had trusted. A neighbor who had always been friendly had been the one watching her every move, tracking her life with an obsession that grew more dangerous by the day. It turned out he had been planning this for months, and he'd taken pleasure in watching her crumble under the pressure. Lisa's life was forever changed. The haunting presence she had felt was no longer a vague fear. It had a face. And while the police were able to arrest the man, Lisa knew that the scars of her experience would never truly fade. She had survived the stalker's deadly game, but the memory of the terror would stay with her forever. If you're still on the edge of your seat, don't forget to subscribe. This case serves as a chilling reminder of just how far obsession can go and how important it is to always trust your instincts.